one of the points I think you bring up is if we're not connected to ourself, or we're not connected to the various parts of ourself, it's very hard to then connect with another person. And so connection is kind of an inner job, if you will. And that as part of that inner job, we have to better understand what are the parts that we welcome and what are the parts that we've maybe pushed away. So that's my intention here, would be to help give us some insight into how do we orient around parts, and how do we find and relate to parts that maybe we put away as a kid because we were told not to be confident, or we were told not to talk so much, or we were told just shut up and do your thing, and then all of a sudden something gets pushed aside. So I was wondering if it might be useful to start just as an orientation to how we define parts, and how you see that process of highlighting a part and having a part that's exiled, and how we can be more holistic in our approach.
So for me, it's the natural state of the mind to be multiple, in the sense that we all have these inner personalities, subpersonalities. Some systems call them, I call them parts, just because that's the most user-friendly word. Everybody says, part of me is happy to be here, another part wishes I was still in bed, which isn't true for me. But, and the basic idea is that they're all valuable, that we're born this way because they each have a role to play in our life that can be very helpful to us. But traumas and attachment injuries force them out of their naturally valuable states into roles they're not equipped for, and also can be quite damaging down the road. The role might have been needed when you were getting abused to save your life, but then the part gets frozen in time and thinks it has to keep doing that.
Yeah.
And in terms of the exiles you're talking about, have you ever been humiliated in your life? So?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if I want to go there. I wasn't planning to go there, but yes.
We don't have to go there, but when that happened to you, what did you try to do with the memories, sensations, emotions, and beliefs from the experience?
I tried to get them out of my awareness and hope that I would never have that experience again.
Yeah. You're not alone. That's what most people do, especially in this American culture, because this is a rugged individualist, just move on kind of culture.
Yeah.
And that, I'd be an advocate of that if that actually worked. But the problem with that is that not only are you trying to leave these memories, sensations, emotions, and beliefs in the past, but you're also locking away the parts of you that now carry those burdens, that carry all those feelings, because you can't stand those feelings, and you're not even aware that that's what you're doing. You're not even aware that you're exiling all your juice, because a lot of these parts were your most sensitive parts.
Yeah.
These, before they got hurt or scared or shamed, they were these lovely inner children who could give you all kinds of awe and sense of creativity and desire to connect with people.
Playfulness.
Playfulness.
Yeah.
But once they do get hurt, you don't want anything to do with them anymore.
Yeah.
And so it's like in the Marines, no man left behind. You left all that behind in second grade and tried to just move on without connection to a lot of those qualities that you left back there.
Yeah.
And so
you lose access to the gifts of that part too, right?
Yeah, so not only do you lose access to their gifts, but for the parts themselves, it's like insult to injury.
Yeah.
The injury was the hurt or the terror or the shame, and the insult is being abandoned by you.
Yeah.
And so they're suffering. They're really desperate in there. And so as you go through life and something happens that any way similar, they explode out, and it's like flames of emotion threaten to consume you and take you away. And so when you get a bunch of exiles like that, you have to have a bunch of what we call protector parts. So
is that related to when we get triggered, or is that usually something around that? There's that emotional response that's
that would
charged.
be the flames of emotion from the exiles is when you get triggered. And then we have a bunch of parts who's spending all their lives trying to prevent that from happening.
Yeah.
Some of them are trying to manage our lives so that we never get triggered. So control your relationships and don't let anybody too close, or control your appearance so people don't reject
I
you.
remember when I had the humiliated experience when I was young, I became very serious. I was like, life is suffering, there's pain, I'm just going to become very serious, I'm going to work hard. There was a lot of that playfulness and fun that Gone, yeah.
Locked away.
Yeah. So what is the process? First, the process is probably just being aware of the fact that this is happening, that these things exist. And how do you see the process of rediscovery or reassimilation or that welcoming? And I know IFS is a very systematic way of working with that, but could you say a little bit about how you've learned to bring those parts in a way that is inclusive?
Yeah. So I learned the hard way to do it through the protector parts that I just mentioned. Because the mistake I was making and some psychotherapies make is to try to break through those defenses and get to those exiles as soon as possible, and then let them come out, and sometimes in an overwhelming or flooding way. And then there's a backlash from the protectors they've tried to keep that locked up for 30 years.
So whenever there's a trauma or pain, there's the pain, but then there's what you're calling protectors. There's like there's an energy that is making sure that that doesn't get touched. Is that right? Okay.
Yeah. For me, trauma per se isn't traumatizing. What's traumatizing is the impact on this inner system I'm describing.
Okay.
Where some parts get exiled and others are forced into these protective roles.